Welcome back. I'm happy to hear good reports from Dakota Days, right? I had to be out of town. My husband was in town, and he reported, along with some of our friends from the Vermillion PD and the sheriff's office, that it was a good, controlled, but fun year. Am I right? No. I hope that you had a nice week. And we are back. I don't know about you. I'm trying not to have a Monday on a Tuesday, but I'm having a Monday on a Tuesday. Some of you will see me in lab. I've seen some of you this morning. I'm teaching for Travis Lowe, who's actually out of town this week unexpectedly. And so I don't want that to throw you off in any way. I'm recording the speeches, and he will grade the speeches ultimately, but you can expect that I'll be sitting in the back nodding, smiling, being supportive, but you might see me in lab. And I'm excited. I like to be back there. I like to be teaching. And the smaller audience sometimes too is nice. So that was good this morning. And it was very timely for me, because that puts me right back into the message that you need to hear, which is presenting your speech. My notes are a little flat. They're usually not after. They're usually helpful. I was traveling, and so I didn't have time to devote to fancy PowerPoints and so I won't want to give a white message today. All right, what we're going to talk about are items from chapter 8, and then also I'm implementing things that you need to hear from your speaking group, things that I notice and the graduate students are noticing about how you can give your speech in order to get an A and do well, and most of all, reach your audience. Do you need a seat back there? What's that?
Yeah.
What's that? Someone let this nice man in. Scoot over. Invite him in. Come on, this is like the kindergarten playground. Let everyone in, have a seat. It's a nice, cool day. To open the door. Stay cool. All right, just a couple of things that I need to remind you of. Your persuasive speeches are this week, and so be prepared, be ready for those. And also, your advocacy topics are due by this Friday. And that's the same process that you've been through for the persuasive topics. You provide your topic choice along with a brief justification of why that topic is a good topic for your particular audience, for you, for your group, why that message should be heard. Now, construct that according to a campaign, the message that you want to build in support of this campaign, this advocacy campaign. And that reminds me, I should post the assignment description today. And so read through the assignment description. It's a one-page description, but it is a group project. And you will be expected to speak anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes, depending upon the size of your group. But make sure that your topics are in this drive. So your graduate students, your lab instructors can get those topics narrowed and defined and decided before next week. And so I have those two announcements before we get started. All right, presenting the speech, the delivery portion of your speech is vital. Right? It's vital from a mechanical side, it's vital from an emotive side, from the content, what it is that you have to say and how you say it. And so today I've embedded quite a few different examples. Instead of a speech of the day, I've embedded a few examples of what I'm trying to highlight throughout the hour. The first one is Octavia Spencer. Does anyone recognize her? What did she give a speech for this past winter? Do you know? She is an Oscar-winning actress, and she won Best Supporting Actress for her role in the film. And here she is with her accepted speech. How many of you have seen this speech?
Yes, it goes to Octavia Spencer.
Sally Field's face when she won an Oscar made her want to know how it would feel to be honored for doing something she thought she was born to do. This is her first Academy Award.
Oh, Academy. Didn't you win an Oscar?
The Academy is the Oscar. They're the same.
Yeah,
They received an Oscar for
the Academy of Motion Picture Film Sciences.
Thank you, Academy, for putting me with the hottest guy in the room. I have to thank my families, my family in Alabama, the state of Alabama, my LA family, watching at Stevens or at Dada, my health family. Tate, Brunson, Catherine, Allison Channing, thank you for being in my life. I share this with everybody. Thank you, Steven Spielberg, for changing my life. Thank you, Stacey Snyder, for changing my life. Please wrap it up. I'm wrapping up. I'm sorry. I'm freaking out. Thank you, world. Oh, God. And thank you to WME and people in LA. I'm sorry, guys. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry.
motion, right? Effective delivery is natural. Was that natural in that moment? Of course, right? That award was very meaningful to her. She had quite a reaction, and in that moment, she was full of appropriate emotion. Effective delivery does not call attention to itself. So, in a persuasive speech, if you break down in tears, that is going to call attention to itself. And so, make certain that you are able to maintain your emotions. I try to show the extreme and sometimes what not to do in our particular context. And calling attention to yourself by way of inappropriate emotion in your persuasive speech would detract from your speech, obviously. Characteristics of effective delivery further. How is it that you're going to help your audience to listen, to understand, to remember, to act? I had a student this morning call out her audience. She started asking a question which we perceived might be rhetorical. And then she asked it again with emphasis, and she kind of changed her tone. And so we knew it was a real question. We needed to respond. And that was memorable to me. It was on pet adoption. And her proposition was that we adopt from a pet shelter. And the way that she, the strategy that she employed in her delivery helped me to remember her proposition, what it is that she was calling us to do. And also your delivery helps build a sense of community. And what does that mean? That means that you have this chance. You're standing in front of anywhere from 9 to 18 people. And how is it that you unite them? How you unite this audience? Well, what do they have in common? And how do you speak to that common thread? And how do you build that sense of unity? How do you persuade them to support your pet adoption or your non-smoking campaign or your call for salary caps in the NFL? Those are just a few of the topics that I heard today, and the ones that I thought really did build a sense of community in that particular lab meeting. So that they acknowledged the experiences and the attitudes and the values and the beliefs of others. They did so by way of speaking with empathy and speaking directly to this particular gathered audience, and they spoke in a way, they used their voice and their gestures and their body in order to build that sense of vision. I included, I don't think I have time for Billy Crystal. This was I was taking my hyperlink in class and it didn't work. I've embedded the first 8 minutes of Billy Crystal's 2004 hosting of the Academy Awards. And I think Billy does a nice job when he communicates something that he can appear very natural. Right? He reaches an audience by way of not drawing too much attention to the speech itself, but really uniting an audience. And this particular embedded speech does highlight that, and so you can access that. Your voice in your presentation is obviously vital. Your voice in terms of the mechanics of your voice, your pitch, and your rate, and your volume, and your tone. Derek Zillmer referenced the dry eye guy, Ben Stein, last week. And think about even Ben Stein's voice. And he has to work at this type of pitch. Now, you might know Ben Stein.
This is my granddaughter, Christina.
Thanks, Grandma.
Matt Christine wants to talk to you about
The president while Mr. Obama is robbing Medicare.
Adams. Adamley. Adamowski. Adamson.
Here.
Adler.
Here.
Anderson. Anderson.
Here.
Bueller. Bueller. Bueller.
That's how I know Ben Stein. I knew Ben Stein from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But think about how he has to work to conform his voice to a very monotone, dry, deep voice. And play with your voice just a little bit. That sounds a bit dorky. Sometimes I play with my voice when I'm driving in my vehicle and I'm alone. My husband is an auctioneer. He plays with his voice all the time. Can anyone else auctioneer in this room? Any auctioneers? And he has to play with his voice in order to vary his pitch and his rate. He has to speak very quickly, and so his enunciation and his pronunciation has to be right on top of it. And he's been trained to do that. And he has little poems and little, what am I trying to say? Sally sells seashells by the, what are those? By the seashore.
I just think of them as rhymes.
Rhymes. Tongue twisters, thank you very much. And those are good ways in which you can train your voice. And if you're nervous, I always have students go out to the hallway and recite a poem or a tongue twister or something that they can practice with, rather than focus on being so nervous. So warm up your voice. How many of you are performers that you sing or you're in a chorus and you warm up your voice? Elena, what do you do to warm up your voice?
Go over certain things over and over.
Yes.
Warmed up, like,
Do the scales from different octaves, and all of these are things that you can do as a speaker to warm up your voice. If you ever have to keynote a speech, any sort of event with some sort of speech, make sure that you practice. Don't overlook that. I've done that. I've made that mistake of not warming up my voice and getting my lips moving and preparing my brain, feeling mentally ready. And those are things that you can do too. And they don't tell you that word for word in the rest of these books. They do give you some good insight, but I'm telling you that. Make sure you warm up your voice. Your pauses are important. They're highly communicative. You can pause too often. You can make the mistake of not pausing enough. You can use strategic pauses. Anytime that you feel that you're using too many fillers, or you have a fear of using fillers, plan for a strategic pause. I have written that many, many times over the years in Teaching Speech 101. Plan a strategic pause. Think about what you can do in order to provide the time your audience needs to process what it is that you've just said. What seems like an eternity for you up at a podium is not that long for your audience. And so think about how it is that you might make use of pauses. It takes a lot of confidence to not say anything at all in front of an audience, trust me. But it can be a very good thing and strategic part of a speech. You can use a pause for emphasis. You can mark your transitions. It shouldn't be the only way that you transition. You need to provide complete transition in your speech. But pauses can be used to complement or accent that. And like I said, they can be misused by too often or using the wrong place. Or maybe not long enough. Maybe the students are breezing through their speech too quickly and not thinking about pausing. Using vocalized pausing can be misused in that you don't really make a word, you just make it and I think Derek talked about that when you were covering the nonverbals last week. So think about the sounds that are coming out of your mouth, not only the words, but the sounds that you are vocalizing. Articulation and enunciation are important as well. And I made a note this morning. So many times I hear students fail to articulate and enunciate. So the word these, as in these are my new shoes. How do you think that word comes out? These. These. They come out as these. I'm going to the muck. I'm going to the muck. Can you hear the distinct difference? And there are times in which it's appropriate to adapt to your audience by not becoming so strengthen your enunciation and articulation. Barack Obama did this very successfully in the last general election cycle. He said, what are we gonna do about these times? We're gonna have change, and gonna. And he was trying to appeal and speak conversationally. And so he did that. And like him or hate him, love him or hate him, Obama is a very articulate speaker. And he's able to adapt to those audience. The needs of the audience. And we're seeing Romney building his articulation and enunciation as well. I think that obviously in the last debate we saw Romney rise as a public speaker even more. Love him or hate him as well. Is that fair and equal?
Yeah. He seemed a lot more passionate than Obama was the main criticism. He actually cared about what he's speaking about.
Yep, all party ties aside, just evaluating the
Yeah.
candidates. Yeah. Articulation refers to the clarity of individual sounds, the words. So the T-O or T-A, ta or tu, that refers to the individual sound. Enunciation refers to the distinctness of your words. And I heard that today. I heard slurring of words, or sometimes I hear trailing off of words. Don't trail off. Keep your voice strong. Keep your voice articulate. And it makes a huge difference for your audience. And you can do so by preparing and practicing and running through your speech out loud. That's how you build your enunciation and articulation. They both contribute to speaker clarity. One of the best ways that I learned about my voice, and this is painful, is listen to your voice. Listen to your voice. Does your voice sound the same on your voicemail as it does to you in your head? No, we sound a lot. We're actually a lot higher, and we speak a lot faster, right? Watch the recording of yourself. I hope you watched your intro speech and learn something about the way that your voice sounds and the way you use your voice. I learned a lot about myself from watching it. A Few Good Men, how many have seen this movie? This is one of my favorite examples of enunciation and pronunciation. Jack Nicholson has made a lot of money in his professional lifetime on his ability to enunciate and pronunciate and articulate, right? Can you almost say the tagline to this scene? Which is what? Say it like he would say it. You can't handle the truth. Heck yeah, you can't handle the truth. And he just spits out those words. I can't even do it the way he does it. Here it is, right here. Love this. Favorite movie scene almost ever for me.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the program?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth! Son, we live in a world that has walls, and those walls have to be guarded by men with guns. Who's gonna do it? You, Lieutenant Weinberg? I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom. You weep for Santiago and you curse the Marines. You have that luxury. You have the luxury of not knowing what I know. That Santiago's death, while tragic, probably saved lives. And my existence, while grotesque and incomprehensible to you, saves lives. You don't want the truth because deep down in places you don't talk about at parties. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. We use words like honor, code, loyalty. We use these words as the backbone of a life spent defending something. You use them as a punchline. I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain myself to a man who rises and sleeps under the blanket of the very freedom that I provide, and then questions the manner in which I provide it. I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way. Otherwise, I suggest you pick up a weapon and stand at post. Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to. Did you order the code red? I did the job. Did you order the code red? You're goddamn right I did!
That is one of the best movie scenes in history. But also it highlights, and many of you have probably, that scene is probably memorable too. And maybe only today do you think that it's memorable, not only because of the emotional climax that happens in that part of the movie, but also the enunciation, the articulation, and the clarity that Nicholson provides. He was a perfect fit for Colonel Jessup, in my humble opinion. And obviously, that enunciation and articulation is being highlighted by the emotion in that particular speech. But think about, even when there is an absence of emotion, how it is that you use your words and the way that you form your words, and you provide that to your audience. I challenge you to think about that. And notice that with each other, notice that with other professors, and pay attention and see how that has an impact on the message. Pronunciation is vital to your credibility, it's vital to our understanding. There's nothing more disappointing than when I'm sitting there and someone stumbles over a name or a pronunciation. We have so many tools at our fingertips in order to understand how something is pronounced. I give Derek flack about that, and he did a nice job. He pronounced kinesics and chronemics and proxemics in the right way, and I say, do that. Do that for yourself. Build your credibility by finding out how to pronounce something, how to pronounce someone's name. That's really important. Don't stumble over. Those are easy steps that should not be overlooked before you stand in front of an audience. One of the most embarrassing moments I saw for someone was a speech of introduction here on campus in which someone mispronounced the speaker's name. Boy, that should never happen. And that was an administrator who did that. Was I correcting them? No. But I was judging them, and your audience will do the same. Your credibility is built or detracted on the way that you prepare that way, and then how you pronounce. Not only someone's name, but any given word that you might include. If you've researched a concept or something that might be abstract to you or your audience, make sure that you understand how to pronounce something. If you're using jargon, I hope that you are defining that jargon for your audience, but also that you're providing the right type of pronunciation. Also important is the inflection, or the way that you use your sentences. Sometimes when students get nervous, they will be devoid of any inflection. And so the way that you can say something, you can say that any sentence, such as, I don't know. I always go back to that same embarrassing example, don't I? Remember that example? Meet me at 5 o'clock. Can't be at 5 o'clock. Meet me at 5 o'clock. The different ways in which you use your words and the stress and the emphasis on your words can add different meanings to the sentence. And so make sure that you pay attention to your voice inflection and how you say something. Like I said, when students get nervous, they tend to overlook how they use their words and the stresses that they need to put on certain syllables and sounds. And those are things that come with practice and standing in front of an audience. And it takes confidence. And that's what you need to work on in your labs. Those are your places to experiment with what works with an audience. Mispronunciation, like I said, calls attention to itself and can certainly hurt your credibility. That's all I have to say about that. Your body and your presentation is important. I think in most lab settings I've seen when I've peeked in, you have a podium right here. And so, you're restricted in just a little bit by your podium, in that you may be only able to move a few steps away from your podium, to the side of your podium. And also, we're recording your speech, and so, it's nice when you stay in the camera frame. And I saw that this morning. But movement can be good. You can turn, you can address this side of your audience, and you can turn and you can address this side of your audience. The size of your audience matters. In this particular audience, I keep looking back at Chris back there on your computer talking away. Sorry, Chris, I know. But acknowledge your audience. Look at different areas of your audience, and make sure that you include everyone. Don't make the mistake of using your body orientation only towards your lab instructor. Make sure you include everyone. Use your gestures, plan for your gestures, plan for how it is that you look that day. I had a business professor tell me something that it just stuck with me. That make sure your physical appearance is pulled together, you're polished, that you don't have to think about that. You take that out of the equation. Get up in the morning, do what you have to do to get ready. Get yourself prepared, wake up early, drink your coffee if you need to, go for a run, do whatever you need to do in order to make yourself look good, because then you'll feel good and you'll speak better. You'll be better received by your audience. Pull yourself together, iron your clothes, get out of your pajamas, and look the part of a professional. So your physical appearance can detract or add to your credibility. How you use movement can detract or add to your credibility. Your gestures are important, and I'll talk about the steps of gesturing here in just a moment. And also your facial expression. Albert Mehrabian was the social scientist who defined the term face work, or how it is that we use our facial expressions to create meaning for other human beings. And we do that. We should work on what it is that we're saying non-verbally as well. So the eye contact that you provide, the smiles that you stop and you give to your audience if something is touching or meaningful, or the frown, those things are important. Gestures refer to movement of your arms and your hands during your speech. It is a bit awkward, and it was a bit awkward for me as well, but I really started to understand the importance of gesturing when Dr. Shane Semler helped us to implement the nonverbal enumeration, the first, second, and third. Elena, do you remember going through that training? It can be awkward, and we're calling on you to say my first point, my second point, and my third point. And we're doing so in a rather mechanical way, and you may feel like a robot, but try it on for size, and whether you use it or not, beyond this classroom, it is up to you. But it is certainly helpful. It adds emphasis. It calls on you to think about what you are doing with your hands rather than sticking them in your pockets or standing at your side or holding onto your podium. It adds meaning to what it is that you have to say, so that nonverbal enumeration is important. This morning, I saw some people were kind of comfortable with it, and others were clearly not. Because I saw, my first point is, my second, practice that. You have to think about, you have to break it down in these steps, the anticipation, the implementation, and the relaxation step. I know that sounds trite and corny, but it's true. You have to think about, okay, now when will I use it? My first point is, my second point is, and finally, you have to practice those gestures. Here I go. I'm just saying so much right here. Happy dazzling. But you have to think about how it is you're using your gestures. And then when you relax, when you put your hands down, and what are you going to do with your hands? You know, most of you have note cards, and so think about how you'll use your note cards, and don't be flipping through your note cards. Make sure you hold those and you're prepared. And you use those in a poised manner as well, and that you use a natural way to accent your speech through your gestures. Any questions on that? Because I hope that's clear in your labs. You need that nonverbal enumeration that's on your generic speaking rubric. If it's present, you get a yes, you get all the points. If it's absent, those are easy points that are outdated. So make sure that you know that. I'm not wrong on that, am I, Jeremy?
You're correct.
You're confirming that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. From your gestures to your face, Miriam, I have a script. I should have invented that. John McCain's facial expressions were priceless. I traveled over to Iowa to the Caucasus to take that in at the University of Iowa back in 2004. No, back in 2004. Do you remember his I Have a Screen speech? His nonverbals cost him probably a pretty good shot at the candidacy, or the presidency. And though your nonverbals, your facial expressions can make or break your speech as well, and your credibility. And maintaining eye contact is important. You need to look at your audience. They need to feel like you are speaking to them. Don't just speak above their head or below them or to one person. Like I was saying, if you're speaking to a large audience, you should look, and contrary to what Zarefsky says to you in the textbook, I actually look at students. But your author is saying, look in general areas. Well, you know what, Elena? I'm looking at you right there. I look at students. I don't know. I would like to know. I'll have to ask you that in a way of survey if that works. Something or not. But I know what's going on. Your eye contact, how you use your notes is important as well. Make sure you practice with your notes. Don't let your notes be in front of your face. That sounds obvious, but lots of times students kind of naturally gravitate as they get nervous and their muscles tighten. Nothing goes beyond here, and pretty soon they're speaking to their notes. If you're ever speaking with a visual aid, which you might in this next speech, yeah, you will, for certain, your PowerPoint. And I try never to do this. There are many reasons, I try not to do that, but one of the main reasons, is that my voice would be projected onto the screen, okay? So make sure that you are speaking to where it is that you would like to project your voice, and that is to your audience. How animated are you? And how does that fit your personality? I'm a true believer that we all have different ways of delivery, different ways that are true to ourselves and that work for us. There is not a one-size-fits-all with that. I happen to be an animated person. I don't expect you to be if you're not. And so start to really consider what's comfortable for you. What is it that's a blend of your personality and what you're comfortable with and what is effective for your speaker delivery. And I hope that I've conveyed that to our lab instructors. Because we all have different ways of speaking. Speaking for a camera, I left that on there as well because that is a concern. In your labs, you are speaking to an audience, and remember that you're not speaking to the camera. So speak to your audience. I wanted to give you that message. A lot of people take this class online, and so when they do, they speak right into the camera. That's their audience at that point, even though it would be a larger audience. Any athletes in here or anyone that represents the university, pay attention to this. When you speak in the camera, I'm judging you. Amy Sorensen's going, oh no, they went through my speaking class. Be articulate, be a good voice. Look in the camera. When someone speaks to you, if someone's interviewing you, will you be my example for a second? How many of you have been interviewed on camera? Thank you so much. Okay, do they stand this far away? No, in fact, they're like right here. What do? You do this. You look at me, even though it's awkward. And then you turn and you give the response to the camera. Your face It happens. And so when they are speaking to you, look at the camera. Be articulate, enunciate. If you even have one remote chance of being on camera representing the university, think about what you might say. Be fluent, be intelligent, or showcase an intelligent voice. And be a good ambassador for us. I don't think you get that message. Maybe do they give you that message? Your coaches or your leaders or your directors give you that message? Well, by golly, I am. Because I'm sitting at home going, oh God. Or, there's been times I'm like, yes. Sure. AJ Shape. Favorite project. Anyone know AJ? Did you have a question?
I was going to add something related to this. We've noticed before quite a bit too. Especially ladies, on the day that you know that you think you're going to be speaking, I would suggest pulling your hair back that way, it's on the way of your eyes, and also always take the ball cap off before you get up there. Your speaker's probably going to remind you, but that way, those are both two things that can get in the way of eye contact.
Some dudes have long hair too.
Yeah, so anyone with long hair, I pull back, yeah.
Okay, finally, this is all I have to say. Okay, think about the ways in which we present. This is very important because all semester you are going to be speaking in an extemporaneous fashion. Okay? This is not a public reading class. That would be a manuscript delivery. Right? But that's when you prepare something and you read it word for word from the manuscript. I don't expect you to memorize your speech because when you memorize, well, I expect you to memorize portions of your speech, your introduction and your conclusion. But if you memorize your entire speech, you risk tripping over your words and not remembering and not being able to adapt to the needs of your audience. Think about Eric Thomas, Success How Bad You Want It. He said, I got you, I know you got you, I used you for an illustration. That was good, that showed good adaptation to his audience. Impromptu speech, I saw an impromptu speech this morning, I think I did. But I would not advise that. An impromptu speech is when you are given very little time to prepare a speech. Sometimes you might give an after-dinner speech in an impromptu fashion. Sometimes there are acceptance speeches in which you have very little time to prepare. Thomas Jefferson said, or maybe it was Benjamin Franklin, the best impromptu speech takes 7 years to prepare. Amen to that. I truly believe that it does take a while to prepare a speech. But what you can do is go back to these common concepts that you're learning right in this class. My first point is, my second point is, my third point is. Think about the reasons that something is true. Think about the reasons something is false. Think about validating a topic. There are ways in which you could quickly organize your thoughts and help provide a superstructure that's pretty impressive. Those of you that have been in debate understand this. You understand how to provide a very structured, quick response with very little time to prepare. And I always like to tell students, have a quote or two in your metaphorical back pocket that you can pull out and use about any time. So, what little tidbits of information? Right, Jeremy? Well, I could do encyclopedia. So, all right. I have a brief message today, and so next I have my little quiz, and I'll answer any questions that you have if you want to remain about your speech. So we'll have a little time for speech Q&As. Otherwise, you can get out of here early and go work on your speech. Right? Yeah. Okay, help each other out. I gotta give you a very serious. Be quiet. Okay, I gotta tell you this. This is not happening in here. I know this is not happening in here. But my graduate students have confiscated clickers from another class. It is being academically dishonest if you bring someone else's clicker to class and you